we're good.
Should be working, right?
Uh-huh. We're good.
Sorry, this is a pain. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm not sure why you can't hear me, though. No? Okay, let me stop. Okay, we're back on. Three, five.
Welcome back to the Action Workshop. We're on day 1, segment 2 of the Action Workshop. And again, about 50 minutes, 55 minutes, and we'll start again. So I want to read something to you, if I may, so listen carefully. By completing the exercise we talked about before the break, and honestly showing yourself exactly what you have to do in terms of monthly production, and what that income represents to you and your family is a big deal. So if you haven't completed that exercise, if you chose not to do it, when we're done with day 1 today, please go back and do that exercise. Each of us understands that no matter what our level of productivity actually is, we're always going to be involved in, and I want you now to write the following. I want you to write the people, comma, image, comma, and communication business. See, technically, net bottom line, when you really analyze a professional real estate person, we're involved in the people, image, and communication business. So I want you to listen. This means at some point, we have to admit that talking to people or being involved in prospecting / lead generation is critical. So, okay, people, how well do you interact? How comfortable are you? And I hear this all the time, and it breaks my heart when I hear this, because I hear it a lot. Mike, I'm not a people person. Mike, I'm an introvert. Mike, I don't like talking to people. I can't look people in the eye. I'm not comfortable with the crowd. I don't like talking to people I don't know. Well, wait a minute. You're in the people business. How do you expect to list and sell real estate if you're not involved with people? Take a class, read a book, do something to get over that. Because, see, that is the business we're in, image. And I used to tell the joke when we could do these live, and now, of course, we're not doing them live at this time. And hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be doing these seminars live again. But image, when you show up on a listing, are they looking at a professional salesperson? True story, the last quarter of last year, I got an email from one of our clients, a man, and he said that he showed up on a listing presentation. He had pre-qualified. He followed the Mike Ferry system. We'll cover it in depth. He followed the Mike Ferry system. He pre-qualified. He sent out the pre-listing package. He called and confirmed that they had read the package. He showed up at the appointed time, say 5 o'clock. He knocks on the door, and he's dressed in a suit and tie, and a lady answers the door and says, "Come on in. We have the paperwork ready to sign." Now, there's a shock. He hadn't said a word. "Come on in, we have the paperwork ready to sign." So he smiled and said, "Okay." And he walked into the kitchen. They had the listing contract out, and the husband picked up the pen and signed it. The wife signed it. And he said, "Thank you," tore off a copy and stood up. And then he said, "Before I go, I'm just curious. That isn't the normal thing that people do. They wait for the presentation." And the couple said, "Well, an hour ago, we had another appointment with another agent. And this man knocked on the door and we answered. And he had a Bermuda shorts, a golf shirt, a baseball hat on, and flip-flops. We thought he was a gardener looking for one. He was the real estate agent. When we opened the door, we actually saw you pulling up. We knew you were the man just by the image you present. People want to deal with professionals. Image. Communication.
Awesome.
How well can you speak? How well can you talk? You know, I recommend constantly, as we do programs now all over the world, which we're very lucky to do. We have a company in Russia, a company in Italy. We operate in Belgium, Albania, Bulgaria. You know, we operate in all these wonderful countries. We meet all these great people. We do a lot of work in Canada, which is just a melting pot of all these great people coming from around the world. And, you know, we do an April program every year in Toronto, which we happen to love doing. And it's very, very common that we'll have 30, 40, 50 nationalities in the room. And people all have their own language pattern. They have their own accents. And they'll walk up and say to me in very broken English that they want to be able to list property. And they want to do it with people outside of their own immediate society. And then they say to me, I have this accent, what do I do? And I tell them, take an accent reduction course. You know, learn to communicate. Learn to smile, that's part of communication. Learn to have a firm handshake, that's part of communication. People, image, and communication is our business. So now we're going to start into the hard part of the action workshop. And it's a challenge, and I'll mention that to you. Don't even think that it's not a challenge. We're going to spend some time on this topic. And that is one of the first questions that I will often receive, whether it be a veteran doing 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 deals a year,
Veteran.
or, excuse me, a brand new license.
Yeah.
Commonly, Mike, how much prospecting do I have to do? How much do I, have to be involved in to be successful and achieve the goals I've set? And the answer is as simple as completing the next little exercise. So let's write down now the word prospecting in capital letters, prospecting. And then I'm going to ask you to write A, B, and C below the word prospecting. And next to A, I'm just going to simply ask you to write the transaction goal you have for the next 12 months. So it's May 5th, it's a Tuesday. And let's just make your fiscal year from May to May. So between today and May 5th or May 1st, 2021, how many transactions do you want to complete? Listing, sold, buyer, control sales. Give it a thought. Just think about it for a moment, okay? And if you're, excited and you want to do a big number, write it down. If you're a little conservative, write it down. So I put down this example that you wrote down the number 25. Good. So you want to do 25 deals. Letter B, I want you to write a second number. Of that goal that you've set, in this case 25, how many of them will come from your database? Now think about that. You have a database, past clients, centers of influence. If you're a new agent, you don't have past clients, but you have center of influence. How many referrals, transactions will come from your database? So let's say that you decide it's the number 6. You're going to get about 6 deals. So A is 25. That's how many deals you want to do. B is the number 6. And then letter C is the difference between A and B. Again, I'm not a mathematician, but I will tell you that number is going to be 19. So I'm going to ask you to circle the number for letter C. And then I'm going to read something to you. And this is going to be one of those things we refer to as blind faith. Either you accept it or you don't, and it's up to you. But I will tell you, doing the work we've been doing, because we're celebrating our 45th year doing seminars for real estate pros like yourself. This rule is tried and true, and it's been challenged for all 45 years that I've been preaching this rule. So listen carefully. The Mike Ferry sales system prospecting rule is the following. If you will make the number of contacts every day, and you don't have to write this down, you'll remember this, just think about this. If you'll make the number of contacts every day represented by letter C, in this case 19, and you do this 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever those 5 days are, and you do that for the next 12 months, you will achieve the goal you've set every time. You can't miss. This is the hardest part of the Mike Ferry sales system, the hardest to accept, hardest to understand, and hardest to do. Because it requires the next 12 months of you working. But Mike, I can't, but Mike, about Mike. And then I hear all the stories and all the excuses. You don't understand my background, and you don't know where I came from, and you don't understand who I am. I understand one thing. You're a salesperson that has to go out and produce and list and sell real estate. And we have a formula for helping you make that happen. And anything you do in life, you have to have blind faith. When you are laying down on a table for surgery with a doctor, your blind faith says the doctor knows what they're doing. If you're getting on a commercial airplane to fly, you have blind faith. The pilot knows where the airport is you're supposed to land at. Your sellers have blind faith when they list a property with you. They assume you know what you're doing to get it sold. Exercise some blind faith here. The hardest part of the Mike Ferry sales system, the hardest to accept, understand, and do is what I just asked you to do. So if you will make, in this case, 19 contacts per day. Well, who do I contact? We're going to come to that. We got a whole list of those kind of things set up for you. But are you willing to prospect? No, here's what I want you to listen to. You'll average about 10 contacts per hour. That's what you'll average. So if you simply divide the number 10 into the number of contacts you have to make, you know how many hours you have to prospect. So in this case, you'll have to prospect about 2 hours per day. And if you prospect 2 hours per day, now don't tell me you don't have time. Unless you're handling 10 or 12 buyer-controlled sales a month, or you're somehow getting 5 or 10, 15 listings a month, you have the time. You just choose not to do it. So we'll talk about the prospecting in depth a little later, so don't worry about that. But what I do want you to write is the following, okay? Write down, I am committed 100% to the process. I want you to write, I am committed 100% to the process. Because see, that's the name of the game. The level of commitment we have to the process. Because this, the Mike Ferry sales system is an exact process. I don't believe, at least in North America, could be happening someplace else in the world. I know it's not happening in Europe and Russia, except for the people that we associate with there. I don't believe there's a speaker in North America that has a step-by-step proven system, a process to get you to be productive. The only challenge is you got to do it. Yeah, that's not up to me, not up to your broker manager, it's not up to your coach if you have one, it's up to you to do it. It's a step-by-step process. You're going to make about 10 contacts per hour. You're going to have to prospect about 2 hours a day. And then I wrote, and if you're committed to the process, then consider the following ideas. And I've made a list here of, 8 or 10 ideas for your consideration. And I will state to you, these are for your consideration. So you're committed to the process. You're taking a 2-day action workshop with Mike Ferry. It's the first part of May 2020. We've been involved in about 2 months of some pretty difficult and challenging times, physically, mentally, emotionally, for most of the world. We've lost a lot of people to this pandemic. I'm sorry to say that, but we've lost a lot of people. And the good news is way more have come through this alive and healthy than have actually passed away. But it's caused a huge dent in society and relationships in the economy. But our job is to have our own economy work. So if you're committed to having your personal economy work, the next 7 or 8 or 10 points are for you. So let's write down point number 1. Start every single day at 0. Every day at 0. Now, for those that have been with me for years, I've been saying that point for years. Start every day at 0. Well, Mike, what does that mean? Well, That means when you get up in the morning on a Monday morning and you get out of bed and you take your shower and you dress for work, and whether you're working out of your home or out of your physical office, when you get to that office, you start at zero. I have no prospects. I have no leads. I have no listings. I have no sales. I have no pendings. I have no money in the bank. Man, I got to go to work. That's the attitude you have to have. See, I start every day at zero. And the reason I've been able to do this 45 years is I never assume a lot of anything. I start every day at zero. So watch, no prospects, no leads, no pendings, no listings, no sales, no money in the bank. I got to go to work. Now, my standard joke in a seminar is, for some of you, this will be easy because I just described your life, because you haven't caught on to what the work is involved to make this work for yourself.
That's not cool.
Brendan, this is actually where I started watching it last time.
Right.
Is one of the most destructive acts towards productivity.
I'm going to let it overlap for just a couple minutes, okay?
2 listings in a week.
Okay.
You have a right to be happy. You have a right to celebrate. You have a right to be excited. But guess what? There's more out there to be done and more to accomplish. And if you keep living on the past and you're looking and celebrating on what you've done, you're never going to move ahead. Number 2, I'm going to ask you to write down. Raise your level of enthusiasm. Raise your level of enthusiasm. Watch. Daily, every day. I mean, folks, you're excited to be alive. You're excited to be out there having an opportunity. You're excited about the challenges you face. You're excited about listing and selling property. You're excited. Enthusiasm, the God life within coming out. Being enthusiastic is the name of the game, no question about it. Why? Enthusiasm draws people to you. What is the opposite of enthusiasm? Depression, upset, anger. I don't want to be involved in that kind of stuff. Watch, I'm excited about the opportunity. The oldest joke in the world, when you get up in the morning, it's either good God, it's morning, or good God, it's morning. Because you have an opportunity to do something today. You have a choice to make. So you have to raise your level of enthusiasm to a minimum of 8 on a scale from 1 to 10. So for those that have seen Mike Ferry work in the past, whenever I'm being introduced, before I walk up in front of people like yourselves, I will say to myself at least 3 times, and I've done this for years. I started telling audiences about it a couple of years ago, and a lot of the audiences kind of laughed at me. But see, I say to myself, this is the best audience I've ever had. This is the best audience I've ever had. This is the best audience I've ever had. And then when I start, I treat them as if they're the best audience I've ever had. You folks watching this today are the best audience I've ever had. That's the enthusiasm I have towards what we're trying to accomplish and do here. And if you'll take that type of attitude, guess what? You're going to have a good day. Almost all the time. The third thought I want you to write down. This is a hard one for developing productivity. Starting today, forget your past. Starting today, forget your past in the real estate business. Forget your past in the real estate business. It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. It only matters what you're doing today and what you're doing tomorrow. Because everybody has a past. It's called the past because it's behind us. The rearview mirror is about this big in your car. The windshield is this big, so you can look ahead and move ahead. All you're going to see behind you is where you've been. You don't want to go back there if it's called a non-productive life. Forget your past in the real estate business. I wrote down, it does not enhance your chances for your future. Mike, I've never been very good. Okay, fine. You've never been very good. Draw the line in the sand. Okay? Draw the line in the sand. That's your past. You step over that line, that's behind you. Okay? Mike, I've never been very productive. Fine, we're going to change that. You're going to change it starting today. And that's exciting.
You've heard this, right?
Mike, I'm not a very good person. Okay. I'm not a very good agent. I'm not a very good listing agent. I'm not. Stop it.
I was waiting until he gets to the part where he says something about prospect 2 hours per day.
My Number 4, which I've already talked about,
Yeah, that was a little bit.
blind,
He did mention that actually already.
You did?
Hmm.
exercise
Okay.
blind faith every day.
This
And
is
then
all
he did
good.
talk about the 4 to 5 accountability partners, right?
You don't know what's behind that door. You don't know who's
I haven't
gonna
heard
answer
that yet.
phone. See, you don't know what the next opportunity.
Okay, then he might.
You don't know if that
I'm
person
telling you the future. I'm
is
gonna mention it.
$500 million home or list their home for sale. But we have blind faith. See, I have blind faith that you're going to do these things we talk about. Now, I know as the 2 days progresses, the number of people that do what I say declines. Because some people don't have any blind faith, or they don't have any motivation, or they don't have any desire, or they're simply negative people out there. It's not you. I'm not talking about you, of course, but blind faith is the answer. Okay? The 5th thought. I want to read it to you first before you write it down. Take the best production month you've had for the last 12 months. Listings taken, listings sold, buyer controlled sales. Okay, so what is your best month? So let's write down my best month has been, was. Okay, so how many deals was that? Well, Mike, in November of 2019, I took 2 listings and had 2 buyer controlled sales. Yay, it's your best month. All right, so then I want you to write down, make that your minimum standard for the next 12. That's a tough one. Make that your minimum standard for the next 12. So now what I'm saying to you, and hold on, don't go crazy on me now, just let it sink in. I've never done that much business before. 2 listings and 2 sales, that'd be 24 listings sold or buyer controlled sales. Oh my gosh, I know. If you've done it once, you can do it again. So you've already proven to yourself you can do it. Well, Mike, it was kind of by mistake. Well, sometimes the mistakes work out in your favor, don't they? Sometimes those mistakes become listings and sales. But you can turn a mistake into a positive by finding out how you got the transaction and duplicating it. But the next one I want you to write down is a tough one. Commit today, right now. Okay, it's Tuesday. From today forward, commit to a minimum of 30 minutes of role play and script practice a day.
There it is.
Minutes of role play and script practice per day. Commit to that. Okay? I want you to really give that some thought. Because you see, professionals practice, amateurs don't. And I don't know, never heard of, and don't want to meet any buyer or seller that says out loud, bring me an amateur realtor to handle my transaction.
I'm going to keep it going until he finishes
They
this
think we're
list, and then I'll stop it, okay?
Well, you're a licensed
Okay.
state that you live in. You had to go through that process, and you're licensed by the state. You must be a pro. Oh, you're not a pro unless you practice. But then, of course, we hear the standard, well, I don't like your scripts. Well, fine, then practice yours. Practice anybody's. I don't care whose you use, but you got to practice. You got to make your scripts. I mean, look at a performer, somebody that is performing on TV, or you go to a movie, or you go to a stage play, or you see a concert, and you see a performer. They spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours practicing. That's all they do is practice. And they practice tens of thousands of hours to perform. And then you think about, I can't think of Warren's last name, the great snow ski writer that produced all the films back in the 70s and 80s, but he was a great producer. And the statement he made is those Olympic athletes that are involved in skiing and those racing down hills will spend 4, 6,
I lied. I looked at the
50
time. We'll stop it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.